I'm not here to be forgiven. I'm here to remember the shape of his throat. The rain smells like iron. The street glows the color of spilled heart. I kneel in it, palms open, slick with city filth, and the one thing I have left of her, a cold crescent of silver, still warm in memory. When I close my eyes, I see the door kicked in, the light tilting wrong, her breath trying to stay, mine bargaining with gods that hate deals. "Find him," she whispered, or maybe it was the radiator. Maybe it was the moon. "Either way," I said. "Yes, at Whispering Narratives, we don't just tell stories. We open doors to the shadows. Some doors swing one way. Tonight we go through and don't come back. They call it a blood moon. I call it a deadline. Flesh has clocks no watch can keep. And grief keeps better time than any church bell." I lift the necklace and hook it around my throat. The clasp bites like a vow. The city holds its breath, and so do I. I taste him on the air before. I see the shape he left. Whiskey, gun oil, the bitter chemical cough of a motel room sterilized too late. The rain translates footprints into braille, and I read them with my face in the wind. If you're still listening, share this before the moon bleeds out. Some debts don't survive daylight. Her name was Mara. She loved bad coffee and good questions. She believed monsters were metaphors until one kissed her wrist above the pulse and told her otherwise. That monster was me. I was careful with that truth. He wasn't. I don't bring flowers. I bring teeth. When the body remembers, it begins in the hands. The knuckles ache like doors about to be forced. The first itch crawls the length of the forearms, then bites down at the elbows. The moon is a lockpick in my blood. I promised I'd hold this shape until I found him. I promised I'd use the words before the howl. I lied. The motel door was held together by a cop's notebook and an apologetic strip of tape. The tape read, "Do not enter. Grief read, try me." Inside, the room smelled of bleach fighting a losing war. The bedspread looked like a bruise trying to fade. There was a patch on the carpet where the fibers leaned toward the door. Drag marks, slow and reluctant. She fought. She always fought. I traced the place where the air remembers her shape and close my eyes until the picture sharpens. Her laugh lived in corners and bounced the way light does when it forgives you. In the mirror, my face is a rumor of the man she believed I could be. Underneath it, a rumor with teeth. I crouch. My fingers find grit, salt from tears, powdered latex, the salt that isn't tears at all. On the table, a glass with a lip print not hers. On the sill, the stub ash of a cigarette snuffed with impatience. Clove, pretender's smoke, then the smell, like stepping into a memory of a fist. Whiskey cut with pride, gun oil cut with fear, and beneath it, a chemical that hums like fluorescent. Light, a cleanser used by men who clean more than rooms. Not murderers, professionals. He worked with hands that had practice. He didn't come alone. On the bathroom tile on his way out, he left me mercy, a half-boot print imperfect with gravel. The gravel still clings to the heel, a breadcrumb of road. I taste it, and a map blooms on my tongue. Junkyard, wet iron, weeds tall as unkept promises. This city knows where he sleeps. The city, like me, is done being polite. When I rise, the mirror catches me. For a heartbeat, it's not a man it holds. The jaw is a question-growing teeth. The eyes go coin-bright around a black center that eats the room. The moon tightens a hand around my lungs. The necklace lies cool at my throat, and the silver tells the beast to wait. It doesn't know that word, but it respects the voice. On the way out, I thumb the tape back into place. No one needs this room but ghosts. I've got a date with a junkyard and a man who thinks the dark is empty. The junkyard sits where the city forgot it had a mouth. Chain-link fences crowned with barbed rumor. Old cars stacked like bad decisions. A floodlight buzzes, in love with its own loneliness. The gravel tastes like the boot. The wind agrees. He was here, is here, or will be again. Hunting at the edge of time feels like this, a coin spinning heads and tails, both true. That's when they step out of the smell of rain and rust. Two shadows with the same heartbeat as mine. Pack, not mine, not anymore. You're running the red moon hunt, says the one with a scar like a second smile. His eyes are moon-blind, milked with old grief. Don't. Try, please, I say, and it comes out gravel. The older one, grey around the temples in both skins, tilts his head. Please, because nobody wins. You close your jaw on his throat, and the night eats what's left of you. Blood moons don't drink for free. I could say what I want, that I am more door than man now, that something opened and won't shut, that I was already half gone before she left me. Instead, I let the wind say it. It pulls across my teeth and makes a sound they recognize. They glance at the necklace. She wore that, the younger one says. A softness like pity moves in his face. Then I understand. I'd burn the god that hung that moon. Get out of my mouth, I snarl. The sound startles me. It's bigger than the room we stood in a moment ago, too old for this century. The older one sighs. Then take this instead of advice. He tosses a tooth, long as a little finger. Serrated like a bad idea. Cult hunters. They hoard silver like prayers and wear Saint Bone as jewelry. They tag their kills with a circle split by 3 scratches. See that, and you'll know their den smells like it. Like what? Sanctimony. He steps back into the dark. When you get to the last door, remember, some throats belong to whole rooms, not just men. They vanish the way we do when the camera blinks. The yard goes quiet in a way that feels wrong. Quiet like a question. I follow the scent to a trailer office with a cross nailed sideways above the door and a sticker that says, "We don't buy fear." Inside, I find a receipt for 50 gallons of bleach and a business card engraved with that. Split circle sigil on the back, a verse from a holy book circled in black. On the bottom, an address. They want me to come. Good. I'm done arriving politely. If the dark has your name, write back. City to highway, highway to Bone Road. The address leads me to the wrong end of a church no one prays in anymore. Bricks ulcered by weather, stained glass saints, bleeding rain. The sign out front reads, Redeemer in letters that have given up. I can smell him, the same whiskey, the same oil, and behind him others with the same perfume of certainty. Inside, pews like broken ribs. At the altar, a sheet thrown over a shape that used to be sacred. I step closer, the sheet whispers. Under it, a table of tools, manacles lined with velvet, they've learned about friction. Syringes labeled like commandments, a book with corners smoothed by anxious thumbs. The circle-split sigil is burned into the wood. This is where they kneel. This is where they translate fear into sport. Footsteps. I don't turn. I let the steps come into me like breath. You the one from the motel? He asks. Voice like a cigarette ground into concrete. She was stubborn, you know that? I look at my hands. The nails are lengthening in a way that pretends to be polite. Say her name, he laughs. No. When I face him, he carries a pistol like a prayer. Silver jacket rounds. The muzzle finds my eye and decides the eye is real. His other hand twitches toward a switch on the wall. Floodlights wait like noon. You don't want to do that, I say. I want to see you, he answers, for what you are. He flips. It. Noon crashes down. The room is a furnace of white. The necklace bites. The skin contracts too fast like shame. My bones draw lines across themselves and break them. Fur crops through like a black harvest. The jaw finds its second hinge. The spine unwinds a new language. I am not art. I am evidence of a darker grammar. He shoots. The silver drags a scream through my shoulder and goes to more in the wall. The hole is clean and very bright. I put one hand over it and keep moving. When I reach him, his prayer becomes a cough. The gun clatters and gasps itself quiet. I lift him like a question I already know the answer to and throw him into a pew. Wood survives some things. Not this. His blood's first note is copper, but the second is fear. He'll kill you. He spits. You think I'm him? You think I did the— Say her name. Mara. He breathes, like it burns. She begged for. I take the rest. I don't like the sound it makes. The room does. Rooms like this think of blood as punctuation. Mark survival. They're watching. The switch still glows. I flip it down. Night falls back into the church with a sigh. My shoulder closes around light and eats it. I listen for the next heartbeat. It beats in the basement. Stairs. A door held by a crossbar. The cross is real wood and very tired. It says, "Do not enter." I answer with my teeth. Basements hold their breath. This one remembers hymns and then forgets on purpose. Cement floor, drains wide enough for a promise. On the walls, photographs pinned with tacks, smudged faces, blurred bodies running, amber eyes reflecting flash, trophies that pretend to be warnings. Under each, a date. Under some, a mark. The circle split with 3 scratches. In the photographs, I see my pack. I see myself when I still believed a diner at 3 a.m. could be holy. I see Mara, neck bent over a stack of library books, chasing the old law through newer lies. She didn't stumble into this. She read her way down, candle in fist. Voices behind a door. More than one, men trying to wear courage like armor and discovering it's heavy. The leader's voice is the easy one to hear. It believes itself. It says, he'll come. He can't not. He was born obedient to blood, to moon, to his own worst shape. We'll gut the myth that says they can love. We'll make a film of it. There's a camera on a tripod pointed at an empty chair. A rope waits on its arm like a tame snake. I open the door. They don't have time to finish the gasp. Guns level. I level back with everything I am. Silver chews through me like regret. Regret chews back. I find a man's face and unmake all the names that put it there. Another man swings a chain with a hook. It kisses my ribs and tries to keep a piece. I keep all my pieces. That's my favorite rule. When it calms to screaming, I pin the loudest one by the throat. He's not the leader. He's the one who wants to be. His eyes widen like doors swinging inward to show the house is empty. Why? I ask, and my voice is mud dragging a river. Because you lie, he wheezes. Because you wear us. He tries to point at my face. His hand shakes like a story told badly. You say you love them and then you eat them. We save lives. Whose? I sink a claw through his collar and find the place where his heartbeat laughs. Yours? The leader steps out then, and the room takes a breath it was saving. He's not tall, not monstrous. He wears a suit that used to fit Faith. In his hand a revolver older than our father's. His eyes are very calm. He has made a cathedral out of the idea that he is right, and he worships in it without any music at all. She asked for it, he says, as gently as rain. Not what you think. She asked for the truth. I gave it to her. I dropped the other. Man, you pulled the trigger, I say. She would have brought more of you, he answers. Consider her a mercy for the neighborhood, for children whose names I know. He gestures toward the photographs like a docent. We used to burn witches to make the wells safe. Now we do this. I take a step. He raises the old gun and clicks the hammer. The cylinder turns like a prayer wheel. I smell powder old enough to vote twice. You think you're different, he says. You made yourself a vow. You think you can love. That's why I chose her. The room goes very small. Say that again. I chose her, he says, and his calm is a knife, not at random, not because she was there, because someone who believes a monster can love is more dangerous than a monster that knows it cannot. I don't leap, I don't roar. I walk to him across those 10 small feet, the way men walk into endings. He fires. The bullet writes pain across my chest in a handwriting I already know how to read. I keep walking. Show me, he whispers as I take his wrist. Show me if your love can leave me breathing. I do not. I am not here to be a sermon. I am red work done under a red moon. When it's quiet, I listen for what comes after. Footsteps. Above, many, a crowd of believers, or a choir that uses knives. The drain hums. The photographs look away. I look at her picture until I remember the exact shade of the brown in her eyes that called me back from worse. Almost done. I tell her, I know, you wanted me to do less, but he picked you. Upstairs the church breathes in. I breathe out. They come like Stormfront, boots with doctrine in them, mouths full of verses they've never tested against their own fear. Some wear badges that mean something on daylight, some wear none and let their guns be their adjectives. A woman in a cassock holds up a sigil like a stop sign. It does not stop me. It gives me a target and a prayer. The first through the door never sees the room. He sees only the shape the moon makes of me and the way the world remembers it's older than our laws. I blur him into the pew he loved as a child. He slides down it like repentance. Floodlights bloom again. Silver barks the air into confetti. I run through the bullets and let them make up their minds later. A man with a halberd that thinks it's a cross comes low. I come lower. He keeps his hands but forgets his certainty. The woman in the cassock opens her mouth to declare a sacrament. I let her finish. Then I testify with my shoulder and put her through the false wall behind the altar. We both hear the ocean in our ears. Mine is older. Smoke licks the edges of all this liturgy. Someone knocked a candelabrum over. It does what fire does, makes decisions on our behalf. The ceiling above the pulpit sighs and sheds plaster like dandruff. The saints in stained glass give up holding themselves together. It looks like a confession. In the royal and roar, there he is. The man from the motel, the first voice. The cigarette ground into concrete. He's trying to leave through a door that never led out. I know that door. I've tried it. He turns and finds me. His mouth twitches toward a laugh and settles for a spit. Say her. I begin. Mara, he says quickly, like a shield. Mara, 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 and she begged. He doesn't get to finish, because I'm not interested in his theater. I give the room what it wants. It wants a throat. I give it one. The fire loves wood first, then it loves photographs. I do the last, delicate work with my hands instead of teeth. I take down the board where Mara's picture lives and slide her free. The paper burns my fingers the way memory does when it's sharper than it ought to be. I hold her far from the sparks, like you would a baby seeing fireworks for the first time. Sirens climb the walls outside. Blue spiders dance along the ceiling. The pack comes through a window with more grace than I have left. The older one looks at the carnage, and then at me, and then at the face in my hands. You done? He asks softly. No, I say, and I can smell dawn thinking about what it will. But this part is. He nods, then run. Let the rest burn down the story that made these men brave. We go out the back way, through a vestry that smells like old books and older silence. In the alley, the rain returns. It eats the smoke and leaves the moon clean enough to drown in. Where does your hunt end? The younger one asks, wiping blood that doesn't belong to him from his jaw. At the place the city keeps its bones, I say. Under the rail bridge, where she first told me she loved me and I pretended I didn't hear. Why there? So, it knows what it took. They don't follow. They know some doors you walk through alone. Under the bridge, the river is a dark lung. It breathes slow. It forgives slowly too. The stones here have heard more vows than churches do. On one of them, carved shallow with a pocket knife 2 summers ago, is a crooked crescent and her initials, and the word, stay. We joked about how that word has never meant less in the history of words, and then we made it mean everything for a little while. I lay her photograph on the stone. I set the necklace beside it. The silver glows with the heat of a throat that still remembers a pulse. Mine. Dawn takes the red out of the moon like a bartender, watering down a drink someone shouldn't have ordered. My body loosens its grip on the beast the way a fist opens when the fight is over and the hand wants to hold something else. Bones argue themselves back into their old apartment. Hair retreats like a tide, ashamed of the mess it left. I'm naked in every way that matters. The river sees me and pretends not to. Good river, Mara, I say, and the way the word leaves me convinces the world I mean it. He's gone. The room that made him is empty, or it will be soon. I did it wrong. I did it the only way I could. I know those are the same sentence. The wind brings the smell of burned paper and wet ash, and the last of the junkyard's iron confession. Behind it something softer, rain on hot stone. The smell of the night ending. You found him, she says, from the part of my head that still refuses to be a ruin, or maybe from the part of the sky that refuses to be only light. But you lost you. I was never good at keeping, I answer. You knew that. A train goes over. It shakes loose a handful of old promises that drift down like dust made of sermons. I run my thumb over the carved word stay until the skin snags on the splinters. When I stand, I think about keeping the necklace. I think about letting it print me with a weight I'd call a vow. Then I slip it over the carved crescent instead. The metal knocks the stone with a sound like a small, true bell. If the dark has your name, I whisper for whoever needs it. Right back. I walk into the water until it lifts me. It's cold the way new mornings are. It makes me understand everything about fire I've ever gotten wrong. On the far bank, the pack watches without pretending they're not. The older one lifts a hand, a human gesture, a human goodbye. I could go to them. I could make home into fur and teeth and the work of keeping the line between us and the rest thin and patrolled. I could make home into guilt forgiven by usefulness. Mara was better at naming things than I am. She called that penance. I turn my back to them and face the daylight. It sits on the water like a rumor about grace. I am not forgiven. I am not finished. But I am emptied of him. The space he was fills with her laugh again, the short kind she used when I told a joke too dark for breakfast. I take that laugh and fold it into the hinge of my ribs and promise to keep it somewhere the moon can't bargain with. When the howl rises, it isn't triumph and it isn't warning. It's a shape my mouth makes when it has to choose between prayer and mourning. And doesn't. It threads the girders. It wakes pigeons. It breaks across the city like a thin, bright blade. It doesn't stop until the last red leaks from the sky. At Whispering Narratives, we open doors to the shadows, and sometimes those shadows reach back. If you're still here, subscribe before the next red moon. Share this with someone who thinks monsters can't love.